So, David, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is David Lee. I'm a person with lived experience of mental health challenges. I'm also a non-executive director of the Sun Network.
Yes, thank you. So just going to have a few questions today about Men's Health Week, and obviously, as yourself, you identify as a male. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. So the first question is, how do you look after your well-being?
So well-being, I think it is very important. I am quite busy with my volunteering work that I find very, very rewarding, which also gives me a boost. But I think it's also very important to make sure you have time to yourself. So for me, I love my PlayStation. I love my PlayStation. But it's also important to get out. I make sure I leave the house at least once a day, even if it's just a walk round the block, which will be an effort today because it's raining, raining, raining. But if it's not a walk, I'll go for a drive. I'll just do something just to get myself out of the house.
Mm. Sometimes it's nice to just come away from something you've been around for so long, isn't it?
It breaks up the day, I think, and it gives you a fresh perspective.
Mm. So, part of Men's Health Week, obviously, and men's health in general, would be mental health. So, why do you think it is important for especially males to look after their mental health?
Mental health affects everyone. We all have it. Sometimes our mental health is good, sometimes it's not so good. And I think men very much so will be in a big, big state of denial when it comes to mental health. And personally, I just think it's very, very important that we all recognise it happens to all of us. So it is important to make sure that you recognise, out of respect for yourself, that maybe you are struggling. And these COVID times have been very difficult. And any underlying issues that you might have had, quite often they've been amplified by being in various stages of lockdown, and also having to spend so much time at home. So I think it's very important, number one, to admit to yourself that it's okay not to be okay. And number two, what are you going to do about it? That there is help available out there. I use the Keep Your Head website because I think that's fantastic. But there's lots of help. CPSL Mind also offers some wonderful wellbeing services. But first of all, you've got to admit that maybe there's an issue.
Mm, thank you. Would you say, sorry, this isn't a question I've prepped you for, but have you experienced any stigma as a male who experienced mental health challenges?
Yes. So I got very poorly about 4 years ago. And when I was getting poorly, I quite often got, oh, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Stiff upper lip, pull yourself together. And because I was older when it was all happening, people probably thought, oh, no, it can't be anything serious. She's been fine. And it really wasn't fine. So I think a lot of it was through the negativity I experienced. It wasn't from prejudice, but it certainly was from ignorance. People just didn't realise that you can have a problem with depression when you're in your late 40s. It does happen. And it did, at certain points, it did get very difficult for me because there were times when people thought I was putting it on. I wasn't putting it on. but I could see the frustration that some of my friends were going through. But I just had to realize, I'm sorry, this is what it is. And, if they didn't believe me, that's their problem and not mine. But I understand lots of people can't do that. That's why I think it's very, very important that mental health awareness for men is just so important. And everybody needs to learn that it can affect us all.
Yeah, well said. People say there's no health without mental health, so they go part and parcel, really, don't they?
They do. They're hand in hand, and and I think it all starts with your mental health, because if that's poor, you're not going to be looking after your physical health either. So it's arm in arm.
Okay, and then finally, do you have any suggestions for males in how to look after their health, including mental well-being and health in general?
Yeah. So for physical health, make sure you get out. Go for a walk in nature. I was never a big fan of this, but it's surprising if you go for a walk around the park. Pay attention to all the things around you, notice the smells and everything, just get out and about. That will be great for both your physical health and your mental health. And learn to have some time for yourself, doing exactly what you want every day. So you've got time where you're not worried about everyone, you're not worried about your kids or your partner. Make sure you've got that special time for yourself, and that it does work.
Thank you. Any services or things you could suggest for people to access for their well-being?
Certainly. As I mentioned, just the ones I've mentioned before, the Keep Your Head website, which obviously lists, which is an up-to-date list of services throughout the county, and also another organisation who I work with, CPSL Mind. Their Good Life service offers a variety of wellbeing tools. Some of them are very informal, and you don't have to book. You can just go along, like a Good Mood Cafe and things like that. So, but remember that there is lots of help out there, and it's all in a very safe space. There's no stigma. There's no judgments. They're just like similar-minded people who just might be struggling a bit at the moment. So there is help out there. So don't leave it too long.
That's well said. I'll add some links in the description for Keep Your Head and CPSL Mind, and maybe a few other ones like Andy's Man Club. I think it's called Men's Shed as well. There's a few different ones. So as we think of them, we can add them up onto our social media. But thank you very much, David, for chatting with me. And anything else you want to say?
No, that's great. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Charlotte.
Thank you, David. See you again.